I straightened and led them to the one-car garage attached to the left side of the house. They sat again as I raised the door and signaled them inside. They did not like this one bit. They whined and jittered, but they obeyed my command to stay. I lowered the door and turned to face the invasion. As if I'd disabled an invisible force field, all the men came forward at once. The paramedics and firemen carrying their gearboxes, the cops' hands hovering over their sidearms. I couldn't look any of them in the eye, but I felt them staring at me as if I were an exotic zoo animal or a serial killer. The man who had to be the sheriff walked right up to me, and I stepped back, palming the blade I keep clipped to my bra at all times. I knew it was unwise to reach into my hoodie, even just to touch the baby Glock in my shoulder holster. "Petty?" he said. "Yes, sir," I said, keeping my eyes on the clump of yellow, poisonous prairie ragwort at my feet. "I'm Sheriff Block. Would you show us in, please?" "Yes, sir," I said, turning and walking up the front steps. I pushed open the screen and went in, standing aside to let in the phalanx of strange men. My breathing got shallow and the shaking started up. My heart beat so hard I could feel it in my face, and the bump on my left shoulder, scar tissue from a childhood injury, itched like crazy. It always did when I was nervous. The EMTs came in after the sheriff. "Where is he?" one of them asked. I pointed behind me to the right, up the stairs. They trooped up there, carrying their cases. The house felt too tight, as if there wasn't enough air for all these people. Sheriff Block and a deputy walked into the living room. Both of them turned, looking around the room, empty except for the grandfather clock in the corner. The old thing had quit working many years before, so it was always 3:17 in this house. "Are you moving out?" the deputy asked. "No," I said, and then realized why he'd asked. All of our furniture is crowded in the center of each room, away from the windows. Deputy and sheriff glanced at each other. The deputy walked to one of the front windows and peered out through the bars. "Is that bulletproof glass?" he asked me. "Yes, sir." They glanced at each other again. "Have any place we can sit?" Sheriff Block said. I walked into our TV room, the house's original dining room, and they followed. I sat on the couch, which gave off dust and a minor cord spring squeak. I pulled my feet up and hugged my knees. "This is Deputy Hank." The deputy held out his hand toward me. I didn't take it, and after a beat, he let it drop. "I'm very sorry for your loss," he said. He had a blonde crew cut and the dark blue uniform. He went to sit on Dad's recliner, and it happened in a slow motion, like watching a knife sink into my stomach with no way to stop it. "No!" I shouted. Nobody but Dad had ever sat in that chair. It was one thing to let these people inside the house. It was another to allow them to do whatever they wanted. He looked around and then at me, his face a mask of confusion. "What? I was just going to sit—" "Get a chair out of the kitchen," Sheriff Block said. The deputy pulled one of the aqua vinyl chairs into the TV room. His hand shook as he tried to write on his little report pad. He must have been as rattled by my outburst as I was. "Spell your last name for me." "M-O-S-H-E-N, I said. "Born here?" "No," I said. "We're from Detroit, originally." His face scrunched, and he glanced up. "How do you end up here? You got family in the area?" I shook my head. I didn't tell him Dad had moved us to Saw Pole, Kansas, because he said he'd always wanted to be a farmer. In Saw Pole,
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.